What's up, guys? Welcome to CESYK Live presents 1L Best Practice Finishing Series.
Welcome to
Tonight,
presents.
we're getting an echo here. Somebody turned down their computer. I think we're good. Okay. Our 1L Best Practice Finishing Series tonight. We're taking a long, hard look at exterior broom finish work, flat work. We're going to start all the way from batch, and we're going to go all the way to finish, maybe even talk on some curing and some maintenance, and we're going to do it all with you here tonight on our 1L Best Practice Finishing Series this is our second one, right? Part 2, right, Mike?
It's technically part 2 of the series, but
yep.
It's our third broadcast on it.
Either way, we're doing it again tonight. How are you tonight, Mike? Let's introduce you first. Mr. Mike Griffin, this group would not go on without you. Thank you for being here once again tonight and helping orchestrate all of this mess that we got going.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man.
It's good
I'm
to have
excited
you.
to hear about this.
Yeah, yep. And you being an expert a lot in the broom finish work, right? Coming from a lot of commercial and ADA type stuff.
Yeah, that's all I do is broom work.
Yep.
That's all I've ever done.
This will be good, right down your alley. And to this way right here, our group expert, Mr. Don Baar. How are you tonight, buddy?
I am very good, Rocky. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed. Always a pleasure to have you here. So, looking forward to picking your brain once again. And we'll go down to the bottom here. I think on the left, we'll introduce Mr. Steve Lloyd, a returning member to the panel here. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Rock. I'm really good. Like you said, I'm blessed. Been in the hayfield all weekend, but took time out to do this thing.
Well, working that dirt like God intended, man. That's a good thing. So, and just beside him there, Mr. Matt Chewy Gross, new member to the panel. Give us a quick little rundown on who you are, what your title is, and how you kind of fit in tonight.
I'm a general superintendent at a concrete company, obviously. Been doing it 26 years, 7 of that residential and the rest commercial industrial. We do everything. Floors, flat work, paving, walls, anything to do with concrete.
Well, perfect. I think that'll be a perfect addition to the panel tonight to try to break down this 1L stuff, and obviously your exterior knowledge is going to be helpful. So glad to have you on the panel tonight. Thanks for joining us. Just to his side there, another returning member, Mr. Jason Proctor. How are you tonight, buddy? Oh,
Mute.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Doing great, Rocky. Doing great. Glad to be here.
Good. Glad to have you again, and always a pleasure. Can't wait to pick your brain again. And then just to his side, another longtime CESYK panel member now, Mr. Zach West. Another pleasure to have on the panel. How are you tonight?
Not too bad. Excited to talk about this one. I know a lot of the members have had issues with this specific scope of work, so hopefully we can help address that stuff.
Sure. All right. So I guess with the broom finish, I guess we just kind of start at the top. Should we start with mix design? Let's kind of just start with mix design. And it's kind of going to be a lot of the same principles and concepts with interior work and that kind of thing. But that's good because the repetitiveness is going to make it stick for all of us concrete heads. So that's good. So let's just start with mix design. So let's say what's a typical exterior mix? 4,000 with fiber exterior mix. What are some things that we're going to ask for the plant to help address this 1L issue? I know we've been through a lot of these topics in the past, but let's break them down again and just drive it home. So, obviously, number one, let's start right with the water content. That's kind of the biggest thing, right? So, Zach, you want to kind of just weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the rule of thumb that we're trying to preach right now is a 0.48 to a 0.50 type of situation. You dive in a little further into mix designs, you can understand why we're saying that. But yeah, increase your water content, make sure it's there. I'm sure that a guy like Don would have an opinion, but for us, we always like to try to introduce some sort of supplementary cementitious, some fly ash, something like that to help with flexural. And then also just knowing what else is in there.
Sure.
We talked a lot about that on the mix design portion when we did this, exactly what they're putting in for aggregates and things like that, what's going to create a more durable product. just being aware and understanding the issues with type 1L first, and getting the water cement ratio up there starts solving lots of problems right out of the gate.
Yep. And that kind of goes, and we'll say this, we've said this in previous casts, it kind of goes against what we've heard in the past, that less water makes better concrete. Less water makes better concrete. And it's kind of not really the right concept, especially for flat work, slick finish, and broom, right? So that's where we're kind of trying to up that a little bit, that water cement ratio.
And what's being said about the water content still doesn't eliminate the finishing practices.
Sure.
So increasing the water content doesn't mean that you finish at the same time as if you were short on water and falling behind. You still got to let the bleed water get out. You're still trying your best not to eliminate air or trap air. You're still not trying to eliminate or trap water. Yep. So just because we're doing,
and everything that we're doing here tonight is not, this is going to work, or this is going to work, or this is going to work. It's a package deal. And with this 1L, you have to be able to know that package deal, right? You can't just say, okay, I can add this, or I can just take away this, or I can just do this finishing. It really is a package deal. So when you guys are really trying to break this down and tackle this 1L thing, you really need to look at this whole series. And if not our series, there's other guys doing the same thing. Go get your knowledge. You can't just be the meathead anymore nowadays and saying, well, I just want the type 1 back, and they need to switch it back. And I get that, and we all feel that. But until it does come back, you have to educate yourself, and you have to take this whole package and you have to apply it. And that's not even saying that that's going to be the best thing, right? You may still have issues, but these are the tools that you're going to need to apply to have the best chances, right?
So, Zach, I got a question for you, Zach. So, in our MCA, I mean, a lot of people say with paving, they want to hold the water cement ratio to 0.45 for durability. So, are you saying 4.7 now because of the 1L cement? I mean, we're trying to raise in ACI, we're trying to go from, we had 0.47 to 5.5. We're trying to get that to a 0.50 now to 0.55. So, but most, if you go to all the literature, it says 0.45 for outside concrete for durability. You just said a minute ago between 4.8 and 5.0.
So I think some of that is this margin of error that we've kind of talked about decreasing for finishers with type 1L. Well, where we haven't applied that same concept goes to the freedom that ready mix plants were given with the type 1 and 2. Well, their mix designs, they could fluctuate water content by adding water reducer or by not calculating the absorption of their aggregates correctly. And they had a little bit more freedom because that stuff was hydrating at 0.28 to 0.32. What I'm seeing based off tickets and just research is we need a 0.33 just to get 1L hydrated. So if you just put that into perspective, it jumped 3 hundredths. So let's just apply it with a 1L now. So your 0.45 max would be a 0.48. But it's getting everyone on the same page and starting to make sure that data has been compiled, that we can accurately go to, those entities and say, hey, we need to make some changes here, and this is why.
Now, I agree with you. I mean, I think you need a little bit more. I mean, I can see we need more water, a little bit more water, not a lot, not to exceed the water cement ratio, but we've got to have that water for workability. I mean, paving, flat work, it doesn't matter with this 1L cement, especially if you are over 10%. I'm at a 14.5% target.
Well, and then there's so many factors that go into that. Like, I don't think any one of us here is going to say pour entirely too wet with way too much water, but we have to give ourselves room for dry aggregate subbase. We have to give ourselves room for a little bit of evaporation. There's got to be a little bit of, it can't be right at what it needs. We can't do a 0.44 mix design as what it needs, and we're putting down a 0.44. It's going to fit. We're going to probably be 50-50, right, on whether or not we succeed with it.
Okay. And you mentioned that the needs, the ratio that it needs per mix design. So how do we get that water that it needs?
It's
kind of leading
there's
to
a lot
the trim water concept here. So,
I mean, getting it I would take trim water out. If you can
Sure.
get your ready mix, just tell them to get rid of it on everything. That's going to start you off on a better spot. Look at the amount of water reducer they're putting in. When it gets up above 24 ounces a yard or so, depending on what kind it is,
Oh my
start
goodness.
asking some questions, because it's gonna trick you. Your workability is gonna be there, but other than that, you're not gonna have what it needs to really get hard, be durable.
Okay. Well, okay. So what are some additives? You kind of talked about some other like fly ash or something like that you can add to it. I know Don has talked about slag in the past, some things like that. What are some things that we could add to it for exterior to help it out a little bit?
I'm gonna answer for Sam because I know he'd say this, but VMAs, and the slag works the same type of way. They control the water distribution better. So if you can get slag from your ready mix supplier, try putting in 9% slag or something like that. If you can get a viscosity modifier, try to get that thrown in there. Those are things that help without forcing the ready mix supplier to change their mix design for you, so to speak.
Okay, good stuff there. Okay, so I wanted to touch on. So I know one of the topics that often gets brought up when we start talking mix design, and you're calling in and you're talking to your dispatcher. The contractor often says, "Well, they tell me if I change my mix, it's on me." What do we do about that? Tell us what we need to tell them, or at least what do we tell ourselves?
On me anyway.
There you go.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what I said last week, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so Don often tells us that you're not even going to get in front of a judge for under 10 grand. So if you're like, well, this is on the dispatch, we're going to go to court and battle it out. Well, you're going to end up 10 grand in the hole anyway before, right? Am I right on that, Don? Between lawyers and hiring somebody like Don and so on. So
at least 10 grand.
Yeah.
At least 10 grand. And there's no assurance that you're going to win the case.
Sure.
That's the problem.
So
Because our industry is very, very difficult to understand when you're in the industry. Can you imagine a judge and a lawyer trying to understand it and present it to a judge or to a defendant? So you just don't want to go there.
Sure. So it's on you anyway. Basic concept of the whole topic. It's on you anyway, at least. And if Emil were here, he'd kind of tell you the same thing. It's on the contractor. I know Emil's, he couldn't make it in tonight. He's been on the panel in the past, but he's had some issues with it, and he's finding out that he's ate so much in his business and whatever, trying to battle it, that it almost wasn't even worth it in the beginning. So that's just the thing to think about when you start to question yourself. Well, if I change mix, well, okay, it's on you anyway. So that's just one thing that I really wanted to touch on there about mix. Anything else you guys want to add in about some mix before we move on to prep?
We should I think we should all understand what's going into the 1L cement besides limestone. They're allowed to put in up to 3% of cement kiln dust. And that stuff is finer than the limestone. So water goes to the finest aggregate in the mix first. So it's going to the kiln dust, which is legal now. They can do up to 3%. So part of that 14.50 that Steve was talking about on the limestone content, a good 2 to 3% of that is going to be kiln dust, which is very, very high in alkali, and very, very fine, and swallows water faster than limestone does. So that's what we're up against. So there are ways around it.
Sure.
And we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Hey, Matt, what do you got? What are you doing for your mixes up and down? You're right. We're lucky enough to have you on the panel. You're pouring in Michigan. You're in the Carolinas. You're up and down the East Coast. What's the differences that you're running out in the field, Matt?
So we just started with the viscosity modifiers. That project you were with us on in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome site work mix right now. My guy actually called me Friday and he says, for as much as I complain about these guys, I wish we could pour this every day. 4,500 mix, but I think we're doing better with the 4,500 mixes versus the 4,000s.
Just because the bottom's keeping up.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like this time of the year, we're using accelerating mid ranges versus the normal set. You know, and it bounces back and forth day to day. If it's going to be cool in the morning, we'll put it to the accelerating. If it's going to be, you know, once it starts heating up, we'll go back to the type A and roll with it. But being able to switch that in and out helps, I think.
So, Matt, you're using 4,500 PSI. What's your 30-day breaks on that?
I couldn't even tell you, but the last one I think I looked at was probably 7,000.
But why do we need it?
Exactly.
That's a lot of shrinkage.
You don't need it, but
a lot of shrinkage.
Valid points. We were talking a lot about that shrinkage earlier before the cast there, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
And
So
durability goes down. Durability goes down as PSIs go up.
I think Steve mentioned it a while back for slabs, but especially true for paving. That modulus rupture is more important than compressive strength on most pavements.
Absolutely.
What kind of pressure can it handle? And that's you get into
and rebound.
Right.
And it makes common sense, right? The harder something is, kind of the more brittle the surface of that hardness is, right? That only makes sense. So if you were to bring down and bring a little more flex, it's just like a knife making. Anybody that's into steel and all that kind of stuff, if you have a little more flex, your blade's going to last a lot longer. If it's really hard, it's going to start to flake, crack, and break. So same kind of concept.
So Zach, a question, and Don too. I'm more of a flexural strength guy. I'm not into I think people put way too much into compressive strengths, and a 7,000. We don't need that. I mean, that's way over the top. We get a lot of issues with that.
You bet.
And I know that's a big claim in the industry. There, you'd be like, oh, we got, in a 4,000 mix. Oh, we got 6,000, in a 7-day break, and that's not necessarily a good thing, especially when it's finished and durability, right?
Now on that, the same supplier, this podcast or live feed 2 weeks ago when we were talking about batch tickets, water cement ratio, I text Jason the same night, and I was going to pour a 5,000 PSI at a 0.36 water cement ratio, I believe, with macro fibers in it, and it was terrible. It was. I mean, we had, luckily the laser screed was there for the 90 yards it was. It was terrible.
It's terrible. No finishability, no workability.
Nothing.
Nothing.
The driver, it had high range in it, and the drivers couldn't figure out how much water to add to it. It was terrible.
And it was broom finish work?
It was cool, and there was a laser screed.
What was it? Was it paving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt, do you have a say so in that though? Because 0.36 is, unless was it structural?
It was paving for equipment dealership.
Okay.
So I'm going to be driving their excavators and dozers.
Okay. So
there's no way to get around it with them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And that's the other issue. There's no bottom right now. There's no regulation, or there's no any sort of code compliance that dictates what the lowest water cement ratio should be. Right. We're all told what the max is whenever people class out, concretes, but nobody says, hey, it shouldn't be lower than this either. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of light breaks with 1L is if you start getting into the lower water cement ratio, it's not hydrating. So like Don said, they're seeing up to 20% unhydrated cement in the mass. Well, so that's decreasing the compressive strength.
Yeah. The top 1 inch is usually 20% less than the body of the slab. It's crazy.
Jason, go ahead.
So there is actually a call out for where the baseline should be, Zach, right? ECI has it. We do have call outs. The only thing they're enforcing or trying is the max.
Right.
They look at the call out as our lowest, where it should be, what it needs to be to get the hydration that you've talked about extensively. Uh, but they disregard it. They go, okay, well, we're just going to go a little less, and we know we're going to be good. We know it's going to perform, right? So it's and leading going from that, leading to the next segment, like Matt, how many times have you experienced subgrades that you couldn't proof roll?
We had actually a really big one 2 years ago, and we fought it every day. And we fixed ruts the whole time we poured. We threw rebar in where there was soft spots.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrible, and there was nothing we could do to get around it. And the paving looks pretty ugly, but it's held up.
So when you got your soil reports before you guys took on the project, was there things there that said, oh, whoa, time out, we got a problem when you looked at them?
It's kind of a touchy subject because it was.
I'm not asking you to incriminate yourself. I'm just asking a question if they did, because where I'm going with this is the simple fact that I believe the reason that they're over engineering so high is because they're not holding any of the contractors accountable to make sure that the subgrade needs to be where it needs to be. And they think by putting more compressive strength in the mix, it's going to bridge that gap. They don't realize it's not working, but that's what they believe. Don, what do you think about that? I see you're ready to talk about that.
It's cheap insurance, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You're paying for their insurance premium. The insurance is the additional Portland in the mix that's unnecessary.
Well, the reason I led into that is because I have a client currently I'm working with that has that exact problem, right? They have 10-inch paving. I can't disclose any more information, but it has failed terribly. Same thing, heavy equipment, contractor, backhoes and loaders and you name it, and dozers. But we're 99% sure that when they go to remove, they're going to find major subgrade issues. Now, there was some remediations that were established before they poured this the first time, and they were minimal. The engineering company wrote it off, said, yep, you're good. Just do this and everything will be fine. So there's no liability coming back on them.
Right, exactly.
But there is a reality that the subgrade, that was the first thing I was taught, 28 years ago. Subgrade. And when you start to talk to the guys nowadays, they don't, even the residential guys.
Sure.
How many hollow garage floors are there inadvertently?
Oh man.
I mean, I'm not saying that the guys did anything wrong. I'm not saying it that way. I'm just saying that there's no third party there testing the compaction. There's nobody there verifying, right? Sure. So what's the cheap insurance? Dowel some bars into the foundation walls and send it, right? They're only going to park a car on it. Chances are it'll be fine. But it just, subgrade is I think really needs to be keyed in on.
Now, Robert Carter asks, what about soil stabilizers?
It's expensive.
It's expensive. But in some situations, like in Kansas City in the river bottom, Zach, we don't have choice, do we?
Nope.
You're getting 12 inches of lime, 14 inches of lime, or flash, whatever they choose. You're getting it.
And that is a great practice for building a good base. However, we were just on a parking lot replacement for a major retailer not that long ago who did do fly ash stabilized subgrade, and they had water mitigation issues before they even started and didn't address those. We've gone back and repaired urethane joint sealants once already, and we wrote up a big deal that we weren't coming back again. And you drive by that parking lot now, and there's water coming up out of it on a regular basis. So getting rid of the water at the same time you're providing a good base that's the balance. That's where it gets tough.
Good. Okay, so let's say I'm a residential contractor and I'm doing a driveway and I have my choice of base. What am I looking for? Is there a specific stone, a specific depth that's going to help me with this 1L cement?
I guess I can address that one.
Sure.
If you're in an area where you think you're going to get some water flow up against your slab, or you got a downspout 20 feet away that's going to feed water to the base course under that slab. You want to put a clean, open graded material under your slab, so the water can conduct through it and not soak up the fines that you'll find in a 67 or even a 57. You don't want fines in that situation. You want open graded so the water can pass through. The same thing goes for people in high freeze thaw areas. You don't want to have fines in there because they saturate, and water will go through your slab and it will find those fines, and it'll saturate, and they freeze really hard. They turn into concrete, and they'll heave more than a regular stone. So you can help yourself with heaving problems, and you can help yourself with conveying water if you use an open graded material. And for the guys who just put it down over native soil, you're shooting a dice on that. At least put a couple of inches of open graded material, something to separate, to have a capillary break between that slab and your base. You need that, because otherwise you're wicking moisture out of that native soil into the slab continuously. And you don't want that. It'll show up in the surface. You'll get damp spots. Those spots will freeze up faster than the dry spots, and they disintegrate after a period of time.
Okay. So thinking in drainage terms, right, for the base, that's a good thing. Now, also in the same concept of that open grade, is that going to affect my 1L? Is it going to want to take the water from my cement?
Well, for me, the best thing we can do with this stuff is to hang on to as much moisture as we can get. We're starting with the ready mix. As Zach brought up, the water cement ratio's got to be bumped up. But there's something else you can do by just putting a piece of cheap visqueen down over your stone and forcing all that water to pass through the body of the concrete. And because you really need it on the top, you don't need it on the bottom. There's never a problem with the bottom 4 inches of a 5-inch slab. Never. It's always the top 1 inch. It turns into a sponge, and that's what we deal with.
Okay. All right. So I guess we've gotten into grade a little bit. Is there anything else we can add to the grade concept that's going to help us with the 1L cement?
Yeah, there is one big item with grade. The best thing you can do with 1L is to shed water as fast as possible. In other words, pitch the slabs as much as you possibly can so you don't wind up with bird baths. The bird baths with 1L, it'll fall apart right there after a couple of winter seasons. It's a water resource. The water soaks into that area. It freezes, it thaws, and it get a little salt ion in there, and all of a sudden you got the whole top peeling off. So pitch the slabs as much as you can to shed that water and prevent those little bird baths.
Okay, I guess that makes total sense. With
get it off of the water's the devil for this stuff, especially in the freeze thaw areas. It is the devil.
Water as in
on the
after
surface.
it's
on the
after
surface.
it's been once it's in use.
After it's hard.
After it's set up.
Yep. Have to clarify that.
Thanks for clearing that up.
I think it says in ACI 1/4 inch, 2%, 1/4 inch to the foot. But it also says even with the 1/4 inch to the foot, you could still have bird baths, but not half-inch, just ponding a little bit
just
of ponding.
enough of standing.
Yeah.
You're going to have just a little bit. But I'm confused about your subgrade. So are you saying like a 57 underneath, Don?
Well, there's, the numbers around the country vary.
Okay.
And it seems like nobody uses the ASTM numbers like they should. That way we all know what they're talking about. So what I'm talking about, in a freeze thaw zone, you want any moisture to pass through your sub base. You want it to move through. And with an open graded material, water can freeze up in the craters and the crevices between the aggregates and not affect the aggregates. So you don't get any freeze pressure from the base course. If you put in fines and compact those fines, like a lot of guys use screening, and you compact those fines will saturate. They do not conduct water. They saturate and they freeze solid like a brick. And that causes additional pressure on the bottom of the slab when it expands. So just to keep water moving, use the open graded material without fines under your slab in freeze thaw areas and areas that are subject to high water table or even roof downspouts from neighbors, whatever the case may be that is producing that water source. The open graded material will allow that water to pass through.
So not use a compacted 21A or something?
Well, I don't know what 21A is, but with the open graded material, you don't compact it, you consolidate it. And you consolidate it, you just drive those pieces together. It's not something that you can take a Proctor on and until you got 95%. You just consolidate it. You go over it once or twice with a plate, and those pieces all come together as tight as they're going to be in a box.
So, Steve, going the same direction you were, we talked a little bit before this started about some of the road work that I saw with all the rain we've had lately, and we put AB3 or AB1 under everything.
What is
so
that?
If you compact a base as hard as the concrete and then put concrete on top of it, where's the water going to go if it gets between?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times on street and bridge and our street work and highway work, when you see a failure, it's generally a big failure because it has gotten the aggregate soft enough to wash out.
Right, and it begins to pump.
So we discussed this, another guy that works for us today after church, actually, about what are we going to do? Because if you get to a point of subgrade failure with an AB1 or AB3, it's bad. It's going to fail big time. So what can we do to get the water out of there?
And what is an 81 or an 83, Zach?
An AB3 is we're 1 inch max and up to, I think, 18% fines.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't convey.
It's sort of
that's compactable.
It's very
sort of like-
compatible.
It's sort of like
If you do it right, he's not joking. It's concrete underneath the concrete.
106%
Exactly.
at 12% moisture. I mean,
Exactly. And
But
that
it's-
hangs onto the moisture.
Is it sort of like what we do with pervious? Impervious is depending on the freeze where you're at, it's 6 to 12 inches of 57s underneath for that water to go through and just keep going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's the
it's
purpose.
Same thing.
Same
Okay.
principle.
Okay.
Same principle.
And I'm thinking about subgrades. I've always been taught, you want a hard, firm subgrade and everything, but now paving, pervious, I've bought a lot of pervious. I don't crack up a lot. I mean, the traffic, the cars and things like that. I mean, it's holding up.
Well, it has less ductility. It bends.
Okay.
It's halfway between a concrete pavement and a bituminous pavement.
Yeah.
So it bends before it breaks.
Okay.
Jason, go ahead.
So I got a question for Don. This is a real world application, Don. So while I appreciate what you're saying, and I totally agree, having a drainable material underneath your paving is great in a lot of scenarios. That's not at all feasible in a 2 million square foot parking lot or a 150,000 square foot parking lot where it was bid to tailgate or truck dump. It was bid to, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to do, you can't do any of that on your clean rock that you're requesting. So with that scenario, not trying to break it, but with that scenario, what's your recommendation at that point?
Well, you know, if you're doing those kinds of projects, most of those go right smack down on stabilized soil, right? I mean, you probably till up the top 18 inches and you lime stabilize it, or you limestone stabilize it, or you kiln dust stabilize it, one or the other. You're going to turn that into a solid concrete mass that is just going to support your slab. Your slab's going to have to be reinforced, not just at the midpoint, but now you're talking about a couple of loads of steel, upper and lower. So you have to design your slab completely different for a compactive, stabilized soil than you do a job with not a granular, but an open graded base.
So I hear you.
I
But
would
we
say
pour
dressing.
unreinforced paving
Yeah, we do.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing we ever put in paving is load transfer baskets.
Mhm.
If it's spec'd. And
If
not
it's
spec'd very often.
if it's spec, but I've never put anything, and I've done millions of square feet of paving, airports and things like that. It's compacted. I mean, you know, they want a good compacted substrate. I've also, one of my best floors I ever poured in my life was on dirt.
Mm.
And it's still, but it was compacted, you know.
Okay, but in an airport setting, we designed at Epstein, we designed all of the runways at O'Hare. Okay, and those runways are all on stabilized soil. Okay, about a 3-foot, 3.5-foot deep stabilized soil, because we have a lot of that yellow clay, and we have the brown clay and some of the gray clay here. So it's all stabilized, but there is a drainage system run through it as well that conducts the water from between the slab and the base course. And those are all fed off into ponds at O'Hare that store that water. So, you know, if you have let's say a 10-inch concrete pavement, and it is unreinforced, maybe it's got dowel baskets in it. Let's say it does. Over time, with that type of base, you're going to get some water buildup underneath there, and you're going to get pumping from the wheel loads. Every time the wheel loads go over that soft area, it's going to pump that slab. And eventually, that water is going to come squirting up between the joints. And once you see that, what do? You know, that's not something that you can go in and fix from the top. That's a complete removal and replacement to get rid of that water and to restabilize the soil. So everyone that we've done here in Chicago has been a drainage system put in the base course to haul that water off, get rid of it.
That's cool. I've never done that in my whole life. I've never.
Wow.
Well, never done that, and poured a lot of places all over the country, like big warehouses, you know, loading docks and outside stuff. I mean, how about you, Matt? I mean, you've been around. I mean, you put it on 57s, or you put it on that?
21 AA usually.
Yeah.
Stabilized 21 AA. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is it? What is that? What is a 21 AA?
It's like what Zach's. It's a compactable. It's fines and real
1 inch and down. Right.
Yeah.
So it's still similar to what you're asking for, right, Don? Something that can use as drainage, but yet you can still compact it.
Yeah, no,
No
exactly
drainage.
the opposite.
Okay.
That doesn't give you any drainage. That gives you another layer of concrete.
Okay.
Jason, you ever done that?
No,
Okay.
no,
I haven't either.
no, I haven't. And that's why I asked the question. It wasn't a loaded question for Don. It was more so just to understand from your perspective, like real world, anybody that's on here right now listening to this, if there's one, I'd be really surprised that they even saw it or have you ever even heard anybody speak of it, right? The concept has always been driven into everybody. Harder the better. Stabilize it. Get that compaction. Man, get it tight. Peripheral it. Less than a quarter inch deflection on your peripheral. Send it.
And tailgate.
Always been that way. Never changed. The only difference was when I was back when I was in Michigan, we did do a lot of stuff on sand.
Well, there you go.
Right. So
Okay.
I've seen some stuff, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that what you're
Yeah.
saying is wrong, but I don't know if they're still doing that. Matt lives in Michigan now. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but I'm guessing they're probably not.
No.
It just
You can't
it's
do
old
it
school
when
stuff,
you have
right?
you can't do it when you have impermeable clay. I
Right.
mean, you're stuck with what you have. So
Well, for a lot of
it is region dependent. That's why I said, if you're in a freeze thaw region, I don't care what your soil is there. You better think about putting some open graded material below your slab if you have the effect of downspouts and water conveying to the base of your concrete driveway.
Yep.
For a lot of the people that are
Now,
watching
if you're in
this,
Arizona, who cares?
they're worried about they're having delaminations on driveways and they're having issues with freeze thaw stuff in a little bit smaller settings. So I think that for those people that are wanting to try putting the plastic under to help with the placing and finishing of 1L, and the people who are like to give a good, solid, strong sub base, they really need to talk to their clients about joint maintenance and joint sealants and keep the water from ever even getting in there. Upsell it, give them a package that every year you'll come back and touch joints up. But that's the only way that you're going to be able to provide a durable, strong subgrade and keep issues from freeze thaw happening between the two slabs.
Absolutely.
Good. That's good info. Okay, so let's talk about conditions. Sun, wind, temperature, this kind of thing. What we could do to maybe control those, and what do we do if we can't control them? So who wants to hop in on that?
Evaporation rate. It's getting talked about more and more, especially on the page. There are so many different websites and apps and things like that out there that will get you close. We talked, Ben specifically talked about the Kestrel device that you can have in your pocket, and
Matt's got one right
Matt's
there.
got one right there. You can use that, but even if you're not looking to get it down to, within a half a pound per hour on what your evaporation rate is, just know that, oh, look, at this time of the day, it's going to be rough. So pay attention to that. Bring some evaporation retardant if you need to. Don't pour. I mean, not pouring on a day just because you need that check at the end of the week is way cheaper than taking that check to go get a jackhammer.
Sure. So I'm looking at my humidity on my app. What's my red flag when I'm seeing? I'm like, oh, I ain't pushing it today. Where's my threshold for that?
ACI used to say 0.19. I don't think there's anybody specifically here or many other places that agree with that anymore. For us, I say 0.15. If I see 0.15, I'm telling my guys to make sure they're loading up spec film and they have some stuff with them to fight it at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're changing mix designs. We're dumping water reducer and throwing more water at it is what we do more of. So
now what about wind? Go ahead, Jason.
I think one of the variables one of the things that we need to touch on to control a lot of this, it's going to depend on how you're finishing it. Okay. Residential guys aren't going to throw a walk behind on the driveway. Okay.
Sure.
But we will when we're pouring large paving or a rider, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some variables there that give you a little bit more of an advantage when it comes to finishing in a 0.14 scenario, Zach. Uh, we're likely okay if we're machining it and brooming it, right?
Right.
In a residential setting where they're only working from the edges and from the perimeter and yada yada, depending on what it is, that's a whole different margin of error.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wish Ben was on here, or Zach, you do enough decorative, and so does Matt, to weigh in on that, because there's going to be a lot of guys on here that are sitting there thinking, all right, you guys talk about commercial. What's our relation to what we're doing here?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, touch on what Rocky said first, or was trying to say, is what the effects are, or what affects the evaporation rate. It is everything from temperature, humidity, concrete temperature. Those are all going to affect it. And then indirectly, your subgrade condition affects it, because if water wants to go down, it'll go down first. Gravity says it's going to go down first. So we want it to come back up. But concrete temperature is huge. Guys, especially in the winter, think they're safe. But if you get to a 20% humidity and they're cranking out 80-degree concrete with a 15-mile-an-hour wind, you are in trouble. I guarantee you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So paying attention to all those factors is important to consider the evaporation rate. That's why sometimes using a calculator, even if it's not going to get you perfect, will at least give you a reference. And then as far as when that does happen and knowing what you're placing and finishing to understand what kind of limits you should have, the last thing I ever want to do is send anybody out on any sort of placement that they can't finish it. Right. So
Sure.
If we are pouring a big piece of paving, we never intend on putting a machine on it unless we have to. However, if I get into a situation where I know we're going to, because of restrictions of walls or can't pull a broom across or whatever, and we're going to have to machine broom it, the last thing I want is the evaporation rate to be up and the surface to be hard while it's still wet underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing what you're pouring and being in touch with how the evaporation rate affects that. Stamping is a nightmare when you get an evaporation rate that goes up.
Sure.
The cracking and tearing that you get on your stamps, you won't get across the slab and fight every bit of it. Even exposed aggregate. We put down 4,700 square feet of exposed aggregate and used the surface retardant. Nice cool day. Didn't really think anything of it. We were going to wash the next day. But the evaporation rate kicked so much that it dehydrated the surface retardant. So it did its job, but it was almost impossible to get off.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And so what about wind? How's the wind affecting me, and what's kind of too much?
If everything else is in line, it could be 80 mile an hour.
Okay.
If you've got 90% humidity, you're running with a good mix. The temperature on the concrete is close to the ambient. You're in pretty good shape. Just be smart about it.
Okay.
Saturated subgrade.
Yep.
Potential wind blocks if you needed all the tools ready to
and
go.
we didn't really touch on that much to make sure we're saturating subgrade. That matters. Mm-hmm. Or like Don said, a thin piece of plastic could help do the same concept if we got a really pervious type base, right, where it's not going to be able to saturate and hold that water. It's just going to drain out. So
yeah, I used to put a guy on the back of the truck because in our region it's all rear dumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not lucky like the guys up north where they get to stand there and watch the guys dump the trucks.
Yeah.
But I used to put a guy that would literally just bounce from truck to truck and spray the subgrade until that truck was empty.
Okay.
That water's yours. You bought it. What are they going to tell you? No, leave him 10 gallons so he can wash down. But spray it all.
They get mad.
You don't have to worry about a water wagon. I don't want to hear the excuses of, I can't. It's not the budget to get a water truck. It's not the budget. Okay, then do the bare minimum, right? Spray out of every truck that backs up or pulls up until they're done.
Even for the residential guys that if they don't have a Kestrel, they're not familiar with them. The simple weather channel, knowing afternoon, like right now, my watch says 28% humidity. It's not windy. It's sunny. But if the wind were to kick up 10, 15 miles an hour, it's probably a disaster you don't want to pour. I mean, simple things like that they can start learning will help.
Good. Okay, so I think that's I guess another condition would be road time. How's that affected? How's the 1L affected by that? You know, if the plant's 45, 50 minutes away, or if he's sitting in traffic, or are these things that are going to come into play?
Absolutely. That's a good place to put some hydration stabilizer in the mix. When you got a long haul, it'll help a lot.
Okay. Good info.
Not retarder.
No,
Hydration stabilizer.
No.
Make sure they understand the difference.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, the difference between those two, because they're different.
And when you think you need retarder, you probably should be using accelerator.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Zach, do you want to take the retarder?
Yeah, retarders, to me, I would rather use chilled water any day of the week if I get to choose. I'm using chilled water or dropping ice in a drum. The retarder, especially with a 1L, the surface is more prone to evaporation because of the particle size and just the composition of limestone. Water moves in it faster, moves out of it faster. So when you get in direct sunlight and a little bit of wind, it is more prone to evaporation. If you can't keep the water in it, the last thing you want is for the bottom to be retarded, because then you can't do anything to finish it. If you're falling behind on the top and you go to get out on sliders, next thing you know, you can't finish it and you're sitting at the subgrade. So you really just want to you want it to be balanced. And like Matt said, we've done some, looking back, pretty dumb things, 70 degrees, 2% hot water, just to get through it. But if you can keep the bottom with the top, yes, you might have to get your hustle on, but it'll be easier to finish. And also that as the cement hydrates and it forces the water out of the capillaries as they close, you'll get a little bit of that. So there's a good balance to that, but retarder is dangerous with 1L because of the surface evaporation.
This is good. So it's almost it is a complete different school of thought than what most people are used to. That you threw me off at first, Matt, when you're like, when you think you need retarder, you need an accelerant. And I'm like, makes sense now. I get it. It does.
And you need to man your crew up.
That's it. That's where you pump
Yep.
up your crew, so you got a guy ready to finish while you're still pouring if need be. So, Yep. Okay, good stuff there. All right, so I think that pretty much nails it conditions-wise. Do you have anything else that you think we could add to that? I think that's pretty much good on that. All right, so let's go to let's start with the pouring process. What are some things we can start? Obviously, we talked about one right now. Jason, you talked about having a guy on the truck starting to wet it down as we're pouring, right until we start to dump mud right there. Keeping the surface wet, that's huge, number one. What's next? What can we do next? Is there anything in the pouring practice, maybe VibraStrike, good, bad, indifferent?
Look at the ticket first.
Okay.
Before you put the chutes on, ask for the ticket, because you now know what to look for based off the other series and part of this, what we're trying to look for in our mix designs. Well, make sure you got it. Like Steve said, they've had trucks pull up from a different job. Make sure it's what you ordered and what you want before you put it on the ground. Because then at least at that point, before it hits the ground, you still have a leg to stand on. As soon as it hits the ground, it's yours.
Sure.
So if it's not what you want, don't pour it.
Good. Okay, so placement, normal placement. Is there anything different we need to do with this stuff? Just placing. What about the vibrating tools, vibrating bull floats, VibraStrikes, this kind of thing? Is it good or bad, or does it matter? In my mind, I would think, well, let's do a VibraStrike. It's going to bring the cream to the top. That's good moisture. That's going to be better. Is that true?
What's your experience, Matt? I have my opinions, but what's your experience on that, Matt?
Depends on who you talk to. One guy will tell you that the laser screed causes all your problems, but when you go into ACI, I don't know which one it is right now, but the process of 330, it's laser screed is acceptable. So one guy will tell you it closes the capillaries too soon, it traps the bleed water. That's why your surface is exploding. I can go run a VibraStrike on a different job site, and it probably hits a lot harder than the laser screed, maybe. No issues. So And our biggest problem right now is not just 1L. I don't think we're having as many problems with 1L, but 1T is our issue.
1T. So now we got to know another whole demon here, right? That we're starting to think about. So
Ternary
just touch on
mix.
that a little bit. What is? Say it again, Don.
Oh, ternary mix. Three SCMs. Okay. In addition to fly ash, maybe some fume increase. So you got three components. Sometimes it's some of the mixes are already being blended with slag and fume at various percentages. So yeah, it works. It gives you a nice durable surface, but it's sensitive. If you think 1L is sensitive, it's even more sensitive.
So this is a 12% limestone, 15% slag. And then the summer mix has another additional 68 pounds of slag per yard in it.
Okay, well that's not ternary. That's just a single additive. So you got the limestone and you have slag, and typically up to 25% is a good amount of slag. Some people abuse it. It provides a very, very dense surface compared to fly ash. It's much better than fly ash for durability, and it is a slower hydrating product than the type 1L. So it gives you a little more time to do what you got to do.
So what's your experience with it, Matt?
Well, not very good. Jason's aware of the situation, but it's just, it was brought into our office. It was sold to us as this is how good this mix is. And, so we ran with it. We've been using it for 3 years now. Slab on grades, been fine. No, we poured 150,000 square foot of paving at this job site in fall of 2024. Returned last year, spring, summer, poured another 300,000, and probably 150 of that has issues.
What kind of issues?
Right.
Scaling.
Scaling?
None of it started until January when the salt truck started hitting it. So the 150,000 that was poured in 24, it still hasn't been in use. They haven't ran. It was all storage while the building was being built. So there's no truck traffic on it, no salting. There's no issues out there other than where the salt has ran off onto the edge of it. But after 2 different petrograph reports, one guy says that we, believe it or not, and it's very hard to believe and it never happened, someone said that we cured it too well. And the
cured it too well.
And the other guy says it wasn't cured at all. So, and now the supplier and the Michigan Concrete Association, they're letting us know that the 1T bleeds at a slower rate. Well, nobody let us know that when they were in our office selling it to us.
Oh,
and I'm sure they weren't aware of it either. But
yeah, it's another 20-25 minutes.
So with that, we're not using the 1T right now that they have. We're back to their 1L. So I guess we wait a year to find out what happens.
What was your curing process on that where you're getting the scaling?
So we were running some out of the broom screed. Some of it was when you could get foot traffic, and then some of it had been, after saw cutting.
Sure.
Just depend on. Like a smaller slab, they would cut it, the 10,000s or less, cut it, cure it. But on the bigger days, we'd be running out of the broom screed.
Sure.
And no matter what the process was throughout, it's the same effect. Each different placement.
What was the material? Dissipating, non-membrane forming?
Yes, membrane.
with ASTM 1315
I think it was
or 309.
309. 309.
Yeah, 309, 309, unless you put down 2 coats, you won't make it. It's uncured. I can show you some pet work that we did late last year, where one coat peeled, where it was 2 coats it didn't peel. Large areas.
There was a couple of the large slabs out there that did get 2 coats. So we went through a bunch of different processes out there and had the same result.
Okay.
Curing wise, finish wise, it's been the same for the last 10, 15 years, essentially. But
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we didn't get a solid answer on the vibra tools. Jason, give us your answer there.
you just heard my problems.
Yeah,
Well,
that's good. That's good. We all have those, so that's why that's good to hear that.
So in my
vibra-
opinion, vibrating tools, they have their place, right?
Sure.
I'm a firm believer that anything exterior, you want vibrating tools because you want the time. You need that extra cream on the near surface. You want to push the rocks down. You want to fight it, right? It helps. Sidewalks are the exception, right? But you should be closing those up the best you can. I'm not a fan of vibrating bowl floats. Sorry for anybody watching. I'm just not a fan. Reason being is because it actually upsets elevation. And a lot of guys don't realize that. So if you're careful with it, it's great. No problem. I've had them. I've had every version. Tried them all, right? Because I like to see what's going on with it. But I just couldn't get the guys to be disciplined enough with them to not end up being a 1/4 inch below their edge forms and creating ponds along the edges or whatever. They abused it. Sorry. If
Sure.
you can't use it right, I'm not going to let you use it. It's just that.
Valid point.
Certain guys, I'm sure, are using them successfully. And again, I'm not casting stones at them at all.
Sure.
But I firmly believe that the vibration. So when you think about the a Vibrastrike's probably, Matt. Somebody said that they think it's hitting harder. It's vibrating at a higher frequency, but it doesn't have as much stone displacement. It has more. It's just the vibration at the very near surface. So if you look at a polished floor behind a Vibrastrike and a polished floor behind a laser screed, there's a difference in the cream at the near surface. So the laser screed, the back side of the vibrator plate runs a 1/4 inch below finish grade, and it vibrates 2 grade. So no matter what, you're pushing down a 1/4 inch, all of that aggregate. Unless it floats back up, but you know what I'm saying. A Vibrastrike is floating more in the near surface. So, and if you've ever cut to stone polishing, you'll know exactly what I mean. There's a noticeable difference on how much material you have to remove. So, I'm a fan of both on exterior and interior, just because it gives your guys a more workable surface.
Sure.
There are common places where you can't do it and you have to figure it out. But that's when I believe that. So a few years back, we did a petro of some paving. Side-by-side comparison, machine broom and bullfloat broom. Strip pours, 1,200 yards apiece, right? Pulled some cores. Long story short, we lost on average of 2.5% of the near surface air content with just a bull float. And we retained that by waiting to machine broom it. So we actually lost about 1% off of what the measured air was at time of placement. So I think there's a gain there as well that's not talked about much. It's actually kind of frowned upon. Everybody worries about it. It is a best practice thing, but I have a petro that proves it, and we did it with a very large one of the biggest ready mix suppliers in Kansas City. Zach, we did that here. You and I've talked about it. So there's some stuff there that makes it tangible, right? If you think about the bull floating the surface and you work, you're actually potentially displacing some of the air at the near surface, right? If you allow those capillaries to solidify a bit, i.e., wait until you can get on them and machine them. Again, Petro, this isn't me talking out the side of my face. This is a Petro telling us that the air was retained better by that. Again, both, and we did it. It's funny how we talked about the vibrating tools and the knot. We did it in both scenarios. So we did cores in both scenarios where to see if there's a difference, and we got the same results.
All right.
It's just a finishability thing.
Sure. Okay, well, that's good.
Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, there's a lot of.
From my standpoint,
What's your slump cutoff for the vibratory screed?
Well, it depends on how 3D you're really pouring, right? If you're pouring a 5% slope, your slump cutoff is pretty typically a 5 to 5.5 at most. That's where we like to dance at that margin, just because if you're doing 3D paving and there's a whole bunch of ups and downs and catch basins and different things, and it's a lot of handwork for the guys, we're not trying to kill the guys.
Yeah.
Good point.
with 1L from a finishability standpoint, I think vibratory tools are almost a necessity. Because of what we're talking about with the surface evaporation, we want to get some more of that moisture up top.
Okay.
The problem with that becomes if you don't have enough in the mix as a whole, then you're taking from the mass. So before 1 and 2, getting too much moisture on the surface, pouring too wet, vibratory tools, everybody is scared of it. It can't evaporate the water if it's not there. So if you didn't have water on the surface, it wouldn't be able to take it. Where we're trying to walk the fine line of keeping the top hydrated. So vibratory tools really help with getting that moisture up. From a finishability standpoint, I think it helps quite a bit. But then again, if you don't have enough in the mix, it could create some issues later on.
Sure.
So the great question about all this is we all agree that the vibratory screens are better. If I take this petrograph report from this job and we put it into AI, it tells you vibratory screeds are the problem. Now, people that do it every day, we all have a different answer, right, than what AI just told us.
Sure. AI's got some learning to do still. Yeah. Okay, so we've got it placed. We've used a vibratory tool. We got as much moisture to the top as we can. We've prepped our base. Bull floated. What do we do now? Do I need to start thinking right away as soon as I bull floated, or can I go ahead and get the rest of the driveway poured and come back and get on it in about 20 minutes?
Since 1L came out, I told have been telling my guys, if you give it a chance to kick your ass, it will. So get it broomed. And if you don't like the way it looks, come back, mop it back out again and broom it again.
Sure.
But don't give it a chance. Go ahead and get ahead of it, and get it to where it's a good quality that you're happy with, but also know that it's a good durable product.
Sure. Now I know we talk about a lot about curing, right? That's one of the Superman for the 1L. It's all about curing. So is that something I'm going to do? I need to start worrying about after I get it broomed and saw cut, or when do I start worrying about curing? Is that something I need to think about right now as soon as I get it bull floated?
Yes.
Okay, so
as soon as it'll accept it without creating water spots out of your sprayer, as soon as it won't displace the surface, you should be curing it.
So what am I doing? What are some tools and techniques I can do to cure it, or think about curing? Maybe not necessarily a cure product, right? Maybe I'm thinking about maintaining that water that's in it already, right? So what can we do for that?
A monomolecular film on the surface right after bull float and edging and joining as soon as you possibly can.
Okay.
Spray down the film. And the film will be the part that evaporates, not the water that's coming up out of the concrete, not your bleed water. So it's kind of a product that's wasted in a good way.
Good.
But that's the first step. And then as soon as you're broomed and you can stand on it without marking it up, cure it. And I've seen too many lately that are ACM ASTM 309 curing compounds that are not really not doing the job at all. I mean, I've got a contractor in Pennsylvania that put down absolutely a perfect, huge driveway, paid attention to everything. That driveway peeled. He put down a 309 and he put down a sealer a month later, and that driveway peeled just like a driveway that had nothing on it. So, you know, what I'm recommending is to put down a PAMS curing compound. It brings you into the ASTM 1315 classification. You can get it clear or you can get it pigmented. But a couple of coats of that is equal to 3 or 4 days of a wet cure. We really need it with this type 1L, unfortunately. That's what we need.
Cure.
Otherwise, you're risking it. Yeah.
So from a pouring standpoint, so I'm thinking that as soon as I get it bull floated, I need to be thinking about keeping that moisture in, maybe rolling out a thin film of plastic. If I
That's
don't
another
have,
option. That's another option. It's either that or the monocular film.
And a monocular film such as like con film or the aqua film,
Yes,
one of these
right.
films. And when I'm using that, am I just misting it? How am I using it? Is it liberal? Am I just trying to make sure that that's sealed off?
You know, it's like water and oil. You'll see. You know, I mean, you need to do a test if you've never used it before. You need to do a 10 by 10 square and see how much you're putting down.
Okay.
You just have to follow manufacturer's recommendation as much as you can.
Sure.
But this stuff helps a lot with this 1L.
Good. Mike, go ahead.
I haven't been able to read chat very much. Something's going on, but I just caught a comment from Derek. He said, "How do you expect owners to succeed with the bid that includes all this extra stuff to deal with?" I know we're talking. It seems like we're talking about a lot of paving and commercial stuff. I know it's exterior. I think he's referring to residential. How do you expect owners to succeed with the bid that includes all this extra stuff to deal with it with the 1L? It's hard enough to get the boss to get some topical help. So I mean, I'm just mentioning this for a residential contractor. He's like, he's frustrated. Anybody got some advice? I know this isn't really best practice, but he's looking for some advice.
Sure.
So we just recently started changing up some of our process. We're going to like fogging before the surface crusty starts to crust. So that's nothing that, I mean, a residential guy should be able to do that fairly simple. I mean, we just picked up these foggers off Amazon for dirt cheap and $300 for protection.
Sure.
Me doing the steel foggers?
They're Vivo.
Backpack blowers?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
So dust control.
Yeah. So these, like curing on a residential job, right? They're way more fussy than a commercial job. So you're not, I mean, it's hard to get out there right away to cure it, right? You want to be able to walk on and do a good job. So if you can fog it afterwards and buy yourself some time, probably helps.
That works.
And as far as not increasing their cost, it sounded like his question was more towards geared being competitive in that residential market. And I mean, if you've got a $25,000 job and you're looking at adding $1,000 worth of evaporation retardants and foggers and things like that, you're probably not getting the job.
Sure.
So the mix design, get the mix design squared away. So that way you're comfortable with what you're pouring. Put it in writing, get everything in writing, what you want to do and maybe why there's an additional cost. And if they want to choose, and let them waive if they don't.
That's a good one. That's good.
I heard at a seminar not long ago, estimates are for creating a quote. Proposals are for mitigating risk. So get a proposal out there. Let them know what they're getting into, what you're going to provide them. And yeah, you might have to say, if you want this protection, it's going to cost extra. This will offer you this. I won't be back next year though. And just got to be comfortable in what you're doing so you can be confident in that price.
That's good. I like that. I like the idea of the option. Like I can look, this is the cement what we're dealing with in today's concrete. These are the risks. I can do these things to help mitigate risks, and it's going to cost this, or we can do it the old way, and then it's on you. I kind of like that idea. That's good.
Building off of that,
Yeah.
building off of that concept that Zach has, I have a lot of clients now that I've shared an inclement weather sign off with. And that is paramount. I know everybody thinks, oh, great, another thing. No, I'm telling you, get one, get your hands on one. And if you show up on a day where nothing lines up, right? Evaporation rate's too high, windy, like this is going to be crazy, but you're being pressured to pour, which we've all been there. And we all get it, right? Pull out that piece of paper. Get that contractor or the GC or whoever, the owner that's trying to force you, and say, hey, here's what I'm telling you. I'm giving you an understanding. If you insist that I pour, sign this that waives me of all liabilities if something goes wrong. Residential, I know at commercial level, it's got our way quite a few times. There's been more often than not where we didn't have to pour because, well, I ain't gonna sign that. Cool. We're not pouring that.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Right. So just and I have one that's open. It's blank. If somebody in the chat wants one, just send me a personal message and I'll share it with you.
Cool.
I'm an open book. No problem.
Awesome.
I can send it to you too, Rocky. You can put it in the documents if you want.
Yeah, Mike will get it in there. We'll get it to him.
Or Mike.
He's our document wizard.
Yep.
Okay, so
I got a question.
Go
Rob.
ahead, Steve.
So I'm listening to everybody talk about all this. So, but nobody's brought up saw cutting. So a lot of guys aren't putting joints in. They'd rather cut it, okay, because it saves them time. So, and what I'm seeing, which we don't do, we cut absolutely the same day. These guys are waiting until the next day, coming back, and they might have some cracking, and that slab's a bottom up. It's a bottom up crack, so you're not going to really see it till it's too late. So, we always cut the same day.
Sure.
Always. What you guys? I mean, I'm talking about whether we do big paving or whether we do a driveway. We're going to get the relief in there because that's going to be over the top probably. That 4,000 mix is probably going to break 7.
Right. So
it's going to be trying to shrink. You need to get a relief in that. Your primary joint especially. So a lot of people want to cure before they cut, and I like to cut and then right behind it with the curing compound. But I see a lot of people. I've looked at several jobs cracked all up because they waited till the next day to come back and cut.
Steve, I like what you're saying there. You're calling it relief. Because we always cut joints the same day. It's to me what I didn't call it relief. I call it you need to initiate. Relief feels like you're behind. Initiate means you need to initiate right away and get those joints cut, even if it's if you're not getting your full depth.
Yeah, just something.
Soft cut, solid doesn't get full depth sometimes. You're cutting some bigger slabs, but you don't have to cut as deep when you initiate it so soon. So you at least at a minimum get those joints cut right away, and if you need to come back and maybe make them deeper the next day, I think you need to initiate and get in front of that, leave some stress. That's the way I always looked at it.
Sure.
I agree with you.
Try to get those cracks or joints started right now so you can have some control over it.
I agree with you 100%. I really do. I think that's very, very just as important as curing.
We cut everything same day. If I go get home from work and go pour at someone's house at 4 or 5 o'clock at night, I'm going to be there at 3 a.m. saw cutting their driveway or their patio, no matter what. I'd be terrified to go longer than 12 hours.
Now the problem we got, this is the problem I see with the 1L cement. It actually delays cutting because the surface is, because of the strength gain. It takes so long to get there. So I'm seeing a lot of steel fibers with zippers in them, where we used to didn't have that. So we got to wait longer. I had one manufacturer tell me, he said, well, you just need to cut your primary joints. And I said, well, nah, I don't really want to do this. It's on a slab. And I said, what do you think we should do? He said, well, just come back the next day. I said, that ain't happening, buddy. I mean, I'm telling you right now, that's not good. But back in the day when we used to wet cut, we'd come in the morning after and start cutting, and all of a sudden a crack would run right beside the joint. The slab is trying to break, and when you start vibrating, then the crack shows itself. So that's why they came up with early entry. And I mean, I've cut them an inch deep; they still work. You know, we want a straight crack.
That's what I was going to say, is even we've had some stuff where we knew we weren't going to be able to get back to it for whatever reason. And we would just run a joint knife, inch and a half deep knife, and close it back up. But if you can break the aggregate interlock at the surface, you have a far better chance of that crack being right where you want it to be.
Exactly. I mean, you've got to get it marked. You got to get it. Mike doesn't like me to call it relief, but I do call it relief. I'm believing that.
Well, you're providing relief. I think my point was like,
get it in there.
I think the same thing. It's just different wording. I mean, you have to initiate that now, and don't sit there and wait for it to, like you just said.
What do you call it, Mike? What do you call it? What did you call it?
Initiating the crack. You got to
initiate the crack. Yeah. See, down south they call it relief.
Well, we're saying the same thing.
No, I'm just kidding.
Control joint.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you got a control joint. You're controlling the crack. Yeah, control joint.
I mean, you can cut that joint even if you hand do it and run a bull float of it and close that joint back up with a little cream. It's still gonna crack in that joint because you've initiated that.
For like the residential guys, like we take some of our tool joiners, our plate joints, and we grind them down so they're about an 1/8 inch wide, so they look like a saw cut.
Yeah,
they can go down and blow a joint through there and then just retrace it with the board a few times, broom over it, and then run a grinder through it the next day, or their X150 or whatever type of saw they're using, and then it can set overnight if they cut it in thirds or quarters or put something in. Or we do that on a lot of our jobs commercial wise, re-entry corners where there's clear mesh, or we throw some dowels in that corner, and you're not going to cut it for 12 hours. It's going to be done.
I'm like you, Matt. I mean, we got 2 or 3 saws running, but I'm definitely going to get on those primary joints first.
Sure.
If you're looking for the look of a saw cut, hell, they sell jointers. They're not V-shaped. It's a saw cut looking joint. I mean, and you can put it on your mop or whatever, or whatever tool you want. If you need to modify anything, but they literally sell these jointers that look like a saw cut.
Well, and just so everybody that's listening isn't confused, these putting in your control joints early is not going to help shrinkage cracking. That's your evaporation rate. That is your evaporation control, whatever you're putting on for that. Everything we've talked about before this is going to keep you from the shrinkage cracks.
Yep. Good. That's a good addition there, Zach. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, so finishing. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit. The argument between trowel, no trowel, that kind of thing. Is it just got to be mag, maybe canvas? Let's kind of address the tools a little bit. Does it matter if we put a steel trowel on our concrete exterior before we berm it?
Yes.
Depends what region of the country you're in.
Ooh, that's the answer right there, Don.
There it is.
Yeah.
Keep that steel off of it.
You can go to Washington and steel trowel your driveways all day, and you'll never have a problem. Same thing in Louisiana.
And why is that? What is it in that climate that allows that?
Well, they don't have freeze thaw. And if they get a little freeze thaw, it's very, very minor. So, when you hard trowel a driveway, if it's possible in your region to do that, you are creating a very dense surface, a surface that resists water from coming into the body of the slab. So you can do that in some states. Some states, you transport that same mix and that same process to Chicago, and you'll lose every driveway you put in. So it is region dependent.
Okay, that's a good, valid point. Now, Steve, where are you at?
I'm in Virginia, but I've been in 28 states and Puerto Rico. I've been all over the country, and I've always kind of used my same techniques, same practices.
Sure.
People talk about ready mix companies. I've got a standard mix I use, and I've actually taken that mix to a ready mix supplier and say, look, can you get close to this? And I've never had one it might not be exact,
Sure.
but they get close to it, and it's working. I mean, and this slump is 5 plus or minus 1 with water. It always has been.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of ounces of type A water reducer and go with that. But if you get back to steel, I put steel on them before because everybody wanted a fine broom finish, but it don't work real good. They trowel them to death. You know what I'm saying? So I think
know a lot of guys talk about the timing on that, right? So if you're just hitting it once with a 5-inch trowel, you got your mag and you hit it, you just smooth it down with the 5x20 or 5x18 or something. Is that okay? As opposed to hitting it until you get to your 6-inch burner.
We've used Fresno's, but we broom right behind it, right behind it. We don't leave it out there. We broom it right behind everything. I mean, we use a lot of rope broom stuff.
Sure.
So, we're brooming right away.
So the kind of the concept that the broom will open it back up as long as you're right there with it. You can't trowel it, let it sit, crust over, and then come back and think it's going to open it back up.
You don't want to get halfway down the line and, you had that broom guy, and even a machine. We have to put machines on to walk behinds, but we've always used float shoes, old school float shoes, and broom. We'll come in, we'll float, we'll Fresno and broom right behind. We don't get far away. That machine man cannot leave that guy. I mean, that's what we've had. I'm not saying that's true for everybody. They might have their own way, but it's worked for me for long time. So
I guess the way I've always looked at it, I know Jason's got some experience. I'm assuming Matt does too. So a lot of your warehouse floors that are getting polished or getting bead blasted, they actually call out in the spec part of your machine process, a minimum of 2 pan passes, and things like that. And the reason for that is because of what Don touched on a little bit. So then you're starting the process of actually densifying the surface. So for exterior concrete, I think that's where the line is. And it was just easier to draw it way above and say no steel trowels on exterior concrete. But I know a lot of guys, I'm really good friends with a residential guy who does beautiful work. And he Fresnos everything twice, once without weights, once with weights. But he is not substantially densifying the surface enough that he has had any issues.
Okay.
So I think it's definitely about knowing what you're doing and the timing. If you're out there with a guy standing on the Fresno trying to get a driveway slicked off so you can put a barefoot broom on it, you might have issues. But the timing is definitely the most important thing.
Sure.
I agree. But anyway, Rocky, I am from Virginia. So
okay.
We have freestyle.
Sure.
Around here. I don't stay on the road like I used to. We just, I was a road man for a long time. But
starting to slow down a little bit, Steve. Stay home a little more on the farm.
Well, I got to cut hay. I got to get my cows. But
I imagine
seriously, the key. One of the questions I was going to ask the panel: what should you do first, cure or cut?
What are you guys doing, Matt?
What do you want to do with the dust?
No. Well.
If you're following proper guidelines, he doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we're always running
okay.
backs. typically used to cut and then cure, but now we're terrified to let it go that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on what we're using for a cure too. Like the 1600 whites, the soft guys complain about the wheel spin, and a month ago I was like, deal with it. It's a pretty flat parking lot, so deal with it. And depends on what we're using.
Okay.
I mean, we go both directions.
Yeah, a lot of times, if the curing compound, you're right, Matt. If you're putting 28% on it, 30% or 25%, and you're sitting there waiting for this stuff to dry, before you can cut it.
Yep.
That's what got me. Is the guy says, contract says, nope, you cure it first, and I said, well, I've got to get it cut. He said, well, you just cut it when it's dry. Well, a lot of times that stuff takes too long to dry. I'd rather cut it and then cure it, because a lot of times the curing compound can take out a lot of those blemishes in the saw cut, like the wheel mark, not the wheel marks, but the dust.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we're switching up our curing a little bit now. We're kind of playing with the silenes a little bit. So, there's one of them that's a 309 and a silene, or the Sloxane. So we're kind of testing a couple of those out right now, and they are more money. So the one project we're on, it's $2,500 to upgrade to that. But if we have to tear out one 10x10 flag, it's more than $2,500.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's worth it for us to just eat the $2,500 or sell it up, upcharge it.
Sure. Makes good sense.
For me, I always ask, what's the laborer doing? So you got two guys back there, running tape measures and chalking out lines. Have the laborer go ahead and spray the cure. Like, give him something to do while you guys are back doing the other stuff. And that just, especially with 1L, if they can get out there in their socks and cure, might as well.
Sure. Okay.
And that's like using the right tools, right? You can't always put a drum sprayer out there to cure right away. And we've been using the Tomahawks a lot lately because it does a really good job curing out there, and it does a really good job.
So
they're like $350 on Amazon, I think.
Yep. Well worth it.
So one question I was going to ask you guys, you talk about fogging. Fogging is nothing but water.
What are you fogging?
I mean, when you fog something, it's water. I mean,
we've
we
been
used to
putting
take
confilm in with ours too, just a little bit of extra protection, but yes, it's still
but Matt,
water.
but Matt, that's 90% water.
90% water.
So back in the day,
cut it to 40% though.
Back in the day, we were doing big slabs and they say fog them. So we would take a pressure washer and just hold it straight up in the air for it to mist down on top of the slab. And the first thing I was always taught was never to put water on a slab.
Well, fogging isn't putting water on the slab. It pretty well evaporates before it even hits the slab.
Not my fogger didn't.
So it's listed as
well, not a pressure washer pointed to the sky. I agree. You're going to have water on the slab.
Now,
Okay.
fogging's an initial cure in ACI, 308, right? Like,
yes.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
get out there to cure. If you can fog it, it's got to help.
They say to fog it.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
That's the road we're going down right now.
Yeah.
That's a solid road.
So is it necessarily not just add water, because all the confilms, aquafilms, they all have water? Is it that, or is it just don't work the water in? Because we can add you can spray it. If it evaporates, then it never gets introduced to the water content ratio of the surface, right?
It's working it in. That's
A month ago, I sent out an email and I took and locked every bottle of confilm up in a back room in our office so nobody could get their hands on it. Until they're all re-educated on finishing aids and evaporation retarders. So
yes,
for years, I've been here for 19 years, and when I first started, it was confilm on everything. And it's crazy if you think I was going to go home and dump that stuff on someone's driveway and work it in.
right.
But I've seen it done for years. I mean, honestly, type 1 cement, but I'm not at every job every day. And I know some of the site work guys deal with some pretty nasty mixes. And in a pinch, they're going to put whatever they can on it. So can give them the right things to put on it, it should help. But it's back to educating the guys on what they're using.
Sure.
Well, and that's back. We really, it kind of started out as a running joke when people ask, "What are you using?" We really try not to use anything. We try to get our mix design right because we didn't even want to run that risk of it could be as simple. I've had guys accidentally grab a can they thought was Finish Aid and it was Form Oil. And it was, and they sprayed it on a slab. So if we can just avoid, not even put ourselves in that position, then it's really good because guys make mistakes. Sure. And the last thing you want, and we used to actually, we used to run it out. We used to fog it from right off the head of our laser screed. And now I know that some of the laser screed companies have that built into their screeds where they're spraying evaporation retardants as it comes back. So all it takes is, you could ruin 40,000 square foot pretty quick if a guy's putting the wrong thing in and mopping behind it.
So Zach, how did the Form Oil turn out? Did it help your slab or hurt it?
I don't recall. I do remember there being a yellow spot for a little bit.
No, it didn't peel
was
up.
type 1 and 2, so it was Iron Man concrete.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. No, you exactly. You're right. I go back and look, and I think I'm seeing more with the 1L, than I ever saw with the 1-2. The 1-2 was really forgiving stuff. I saw a mixed design the other day that had 210 pounds of 1L and 300 pounds of slag. That was the mix. I told the guy,
calling in sick that day.
You just juice it up. Put accelerator in it. You have to put accelerator in it, or you'll be there 24 hours.
And it'll turn blue.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I said it's nothing. Put a percent in it. It's not gonna hurt anything. You got plenty of people. You won't be here 24 hours, I guarantee you.
Okay, so we got finishing. We kind of got that down. We know we got to cure as soon as possible. We got some ideas what we can use to cure. So where can we go from here? What about next day? What about things like sprinkler systems and this kind of thing? Is this going to help with the curing, or does it matter if I use some of these curing compounds? Is that even going to shield that out?
I think a lot of the curing compounds are going to be pretty cut and dry. They're going to serve the same purpose across the board. Very opinionated, but I've been listening to our opinion based, been listening to Don a little bit. And I really think the next step after most just your standard non-membrane forming dissipating curing compounds needs to be a densifier. Especially for these residential guys, it is just a big old CYA. That if there's some pores that might have issues later, get it densified. And then further than that, making sure that you seal also, and not seal before the concrete has completed outgassing, because I think people are sealing too early and trapping things. So It is just the less permeable surface that 1L creates already, because the finer molecules, final particles of the cement, water is coming out later, and people are throwing 40% solid sealers on it or higher and trapping some of that. So I think that process, just like everything else, has to be fine-tuned just a little bit more.
Sure.
So you think just a water-based sealer?
I don't think so myself, but there's a difference in opinion on that, just because of what some of the solvent-based stuff does. But I think if you get it, let it evaporate, and it's the relative humidity is low enough that a solvent-based sealer is going to perform better over time.
And that's good practice. The contractor is doing what he's supposed to do. I'm cutting the joints and I'm curing it. What else do you want me to do? Yep. Like you said, these guys out here banging out a living, man, trying to feed their families. They can't afford all this extra stuff. They've been taught how to finish and just use good practice. Good substrate, good mix design.
Well, in all honesty, if you look at 1L as a whole, I would say the most profitable market in 1L since it's come out, it's not been any contractors or ready mix suppliers, there's been things that we've never heard of come out from a chemical standpoint, from a surface applied standpoint. Like they have found a way to make the business double. So we need it for sure, but I think people getting on board with the right thing and trying to figure out what works in their area is probably the most important.
So we talked about densifiers. You know, that's a good thing that we can help with this. So when am I putting my densifier? Is it right away? Or am I waiting like I would for a sealer? And what? Give me an example of what we would be talking about as a densifier.
If you're going to do a densifier, you want to do a lithium silicate colloidal silicate combination.
Okay.
And you put that down as soon as you're done finishing. And you let that dry for it dries pretty fast, about an hour, and then you go over it with a 309 or a 1315 curing compound, and you've done everything you possibly can to make that slab cure out properly.
Okay. That's I don't think I could ask anything else than that. That's pretty straightforward, right? I mean, there's two things. Obviously, I know that we keep going back to this who eats that cost, but again, we could go back to what Zach said, give them the option. Look, I can pour this, broom it, and we can hit the door, and then in a couple winters, you're going to be calling me to come back to resurface it, or we can go this route.
For people watching the broadcast, can you let them know what the 309 and 1315 would be? Explain exactly what that is, because they're just hearing numbers and.
The 309 has a water evaporation rate of 0.44 pounds per square foot. And the 1315 has an evaporation rate of 55. So it holds a lot more moisture in the slab than a 309 does.
Now,
and these numbers, if you go to any of your supply house and you say, hey, give me a 1315 or a 309 sealer, they're going to know exactly what you mean.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we're curing and sealing. That's going to help us out, and we're going to do that as soon as we can, obviously. Now, what about maintenance? Is that something do I need to come back in 30 days and maybe put down an acrylic of some sort, or am I good with just the two that I've already put down?
It depends on which way you go. If you go with the lithium silicate, colloidal silicate, you can put another coat of that on, but you have to remove whatever's left over from your curing compound first. So typically, I'm doing it here in Chicago with maybe 8 contractors. And what we're finding is that if you use the lithium silicate and the colloidal silicate combination, it is a fairly decent curing compound on its own because it seals up, fills up the pores, and prevents a lot of the moisture from escaping. It's not the end all of curing, though.
Sure.
You know, I mean, that's been proven. So putting down a dissipating 309 that, you know, pretty well dissipates in a month or so, and coming back with a sealer or another coat of the lithium silicate is a good way to do it. So, you know, it's a matter of choice. If you don't want to do the silicate, I would definitely do the ASTM 1315 curing compound and 2 coats of that.
So Don, that's what I'm trying to. That's probably what most of these guys are going to want to do. They're going to want to finish the job and do what they can do and be gone. Then you come back in 30 days, it might have mud and, you know.
Yep.
So what you're saying for these guys to do is what, Don? Just, I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's set the lithium silicate aside for a minute. Just talk about regular curing.
Okay.
The protective curing up in front, right after you bull float, We talked about that. You need an evaporation retarder sprayed down, and that retarder's got some alcohol in it. The alcohol is going to hold the moisture in the slab until it evaporates. And that allows your slab to maintain the amount of moisture, the greatest amount of moisture you can have. Okay, then as soon as you finish and you can reach out and spray a 309 down or a 1315 curing compound, that's when to do it. And to be extra sure with this 1L, we've been doing 2 coats wet on wet. You know,
Okay.
as soon as you can get back on it, shoot another coat, a light coat down, and then another coat right behind it.
So a couple coats of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
And we have, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 projects here that some are in their third season of freeze thaw. Some are 2. We monitor those very closely since we made these changes, and we haven't had any problems with scaling. We've had a little bit on the aprons of projects where the curb bump up is a little high, and pieces of ice fall off of the car when it hits the apron. And we've had some problems in that area, but in the driveway areas, we have not had any scaling at all. And the same goes for the lithium silicate. We have some samples from that are 2 years old with the lithium silicate as a densifier.
All right.
I think the most important thing is to remember the difference between membrane and penetration. You know, curing is a membrane. Sealing is a penetration. You don't want to put sealer down and not put curing compound down, okay? Because you're not curing with a penetration sealer.
So Zach, where are you at? Are you still here, Zach?
He's still here.
So I still like what you say. Just get a good mix.
Yeah.
Yep. That's where it
The
starts.
only thing it's not going to help is the chloride susceptibility. The increase in limestone, salt damage is going to go up. It'll get you to the finish line, but once you're there, it's about how it's being treated afterwards. So sealers and things like that. But locally, we have seen quite an uptick in damage from 1L placed concrete. I will say that there are some methods that stand up better, some products that stand up better. And I believe it's because of the way they're placed. We've had a lot of better luck with the volumetric on a even salt resistance standpoint. We've only been
volumetric trucks is what you're saying, right? Like mix on-site trucks.
Correct.
The ones
And
that
I'm
have
not
the
here to
sand, all the materials right there, and they mix it right there in the auger.
Yeah. So I think from a regular standpoint, making sure you have a good mix is going to curb some of it, and then making sure it's properly cured and sealed.
Yes.
I do think people are used to sealing, and Sam and I are working with an entity that does a lot of surface applied stuff, and 29 days, like clockwork, they're there putting it down. And since 1L came out, they've seen a lot of failures, not in the surface of the concrete and not in their material, but it's just not bonding. And that's just because of the way that it loses moisture. So making sure you're sealing at the right time.
Okay.
So Matt, you're all over the place. You seeing a lot of differences in regions.
I don't usually get involved with a lot of the site work.
Okay.
In the other regions, but to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues that we're aware of up here.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, guys, I think do we have anything else that we can throw in here to help these guys out with exterior broom finish work? I think we've got a lot of it. We started with mix design, which is huge, and that could help eliminate some of the other things, but then we went into our sub base, right? Our base and things we can do with that. Obviously, and the pouring practices, placing practices, finishing, and then curing, obviously, and then some maintenance. So anything else you think we could add in on that to kind of beat this to a completely dead horse?
Warranty.
Isolation joints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go, Don.
Steve was wanting that one in there for sure. What did you say, Zach?
I said warranty.
Ooh.
I think a lot of our guys, especially that are working on the residential, for one, a customer would be impressed that you offer a warranty. A lot of people get the taillight warranty. So, in the same time you're having the conversations about the extras, talk about your warranty and what it covers and what it doesn't, and show them how that changes if they want to pitch in the extra for a densifier, and just put everything on the table. That way there's no surprises. A lot of these guys that are having issues with scaling, you ask them, one, where's your batch ticket? Oh, I don't have one. And two, what did your contract say? Oh, I don't have one of those either. So just nobody wants to have a pile of paperwork when they go to do a driveway for somebody, but we also don't want to eat the cost on something that could have been prevented.
Sure. Definitely a good addition there. Anybody else got anything to add into that? All right. Well, guys, I think this has been a good one. I think we touched on a lot of topics that we've touched on before, and we will continue to touch on over the next few segments. But that's because they're the same thing. Water content ratio, this kind of thing is going to be, base is going to be a thing. Curing is going to be a thing in every practice. But that's why we're going through these segment by segment. That way you guys know that these are the important things in every single one of these, and you're going to get it, and we're going to drive it home. So I think Mike, do you know the next one? Have we nailed that down? Do we want to announce that?
Yeah, we do. We still got some things in the work, and it's got me smiling. But decorative work is going to be next. I think it's going to be a good broadcast. Hopefully, we've got a couple surprises, and
yep,
that's it. Our decorative work is going to be next.
Yep, decorative. Get into some stamp coloring. Yep, next week.
Yeah,
next
Sunday,
next
time.
Sunday. Yeah. Next Sunday, same bat channel, same bat time.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, all right. I don't know if there's any of the young guys in there would know that one, but none of us are young in here, so we're all good. I think everybody knows that.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you helping me to break this down, and I know every single time that I come out of these, I feel like I'm a lot more prepared to go tackle this cement that we're forced to tackle. And again, I say this, guys, that all of what we're doing here doesn't guarantee that this is going to stop you from having problems. These are the tools that you can use to help you eliminate some of those, or at least make them smaller. So, and that's what we're all striving for, right? Any kind of tools or techniques we can do to make this better on ourselves, we got to do it. We can't be the guy. Otherwise, you're going to be the guy on the unemployment line. So there's your options, right?
And just like Jason said, sorry, Mike.
Oh, I'm going to say, I've already put a disclaimer up there. What we're saying, we're trying to give our opinions and help everybody out. And something I've had a couple people send me, and there's also like disclaimers. We talk about warranties, but also disclaimers and some language for protection. I'm going to share some of that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and feel free to shoot me a DM as well, especially if it comes to any of the mixed design stuff and things like that. I don't want to see people struggle. I'm tired of watching everybody struggle. So
we're in this together, and we're going to tackle it together. So we say that often. Guys, you guys tuning in, you can message anybody on this panel if you have questions. Every one of us are going to do our best to help you out. And that's what this group's all about. And that's the reason we're here tonight, because we want to help. We want to be a part of the industry and just make big changes. So that's why we're here. We're going to do this again next Sunday. Make sure you tune in 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to tackle the decorative concrete world, some staining, some stamping, exposed ag. We're going to do it all the decorative stuff. We're going to get into it. And like Mike said, we got some big surprises in the works, guys. So make sure you tune into that. Watch Michael be advertising it throughout the week. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.